Українське незалежне радіо.
Hello everyone who's watching and listening to Ukrainian independent radio. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Oleg, and every other Thursday we talk about real estate. And every other Thursday I try to bring different guests. And today I have a guest. His name is Phil Spatafora. And today we're talking about decks, patios, additions, garages, all that. And so Phil, thank you so much for coming in today.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And so let's first maybe start with you telling us what you do and what your company does.
So OnDeck is a brand that we built some years ago. We're a family-run company. We focus mainly on decks or screen rooms, some patios. We usually use more cutting-edge type of technologies like composite systems, composite or aluminum railing systems, as opposed to wood. They're the alternatives that are coming up now. We also do lots of interiors, kitchen, bath type of stuff. Keep my guys busy throughout the year. We staff our own employees, so we're builders, not just contractors. We're builders.
Yeah. So I read this cool statistics about decks that they say that there's 4 million decks in America.
Yeah.
But the most important thing that I wanted to first talk about is that there's 40,000 accidents that are happening for one or another reason.
Yep.
With decks. So I think we should first thing first talk a little bit about safety.
Yeah. I mean, that statistic is real. That there's, I think the North American Deck and Rail Association, who we're part of, I think they published that statistic. And we use it often. And I mean, think about what accidents could be. It could be a broken piece of railing. It could be, someone tripped on the stairs, or, the more extreme type of accidents is a deck collapses, right? Which happened a number of years here in Chicago, right? If you remember.
What's the main reason?
The main reason?
Poor construction, not enough maintenance.
All of those, I would say poor construction has got to be number one, right? Things, standards that we live by today aren't standards that we lived by, 10, 15 years ago, right? They've changed quite a bit. Back in those days, it was really common to kind of slap these things together. They weren't built like houses. They were just a place to stand. And then, often we started seeing, as more people started using them, they became structurally incapable. You have a big party, you put 30 people up there. That's weight. It may not collapse that day, but it sure made it a whole lot weaker, right? And then weather, ice and snow. Chicago's notorious for ice and snow, and that wreaks havoc too on connections, right? And
so how to make sure my deck is safe? First is probably hire the right company.
Well, stand on it. Is it falling apart, right? I mean, most people can see things when they're falling apart, but...
Well, before I build one, I want to make sure that something that I build, I'm going to have for a long time.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
I got to first, what my first couple things that I have to do? Like, what's my first step? I want to get into this. Like a deck.
Your first step is understanding what kind of space you want to use, right? And here in the city, space is tight, right? I mean, you've got 25-foot lots, right? Are really, really common, and nobody's really going to go outside of that. There's rear yard setbacks. Most people want to utilize all the space they want. Some people want to leave some yard space. So what are you going to use that for? You want to just grill out there. You want seating area out there. How are you going to use the space?
I want a big deck, to grill, to put my couch. And that's where I'm going to hang out.
Yep. When people start getting this idea in their head that, they want a big space, but then they start putting different levels in it. And I want to step down here and step down there. That's notoriously a bad move, because what you end up with is a bunch of small spaces instead of one big space.
Yeah.
So I always I try and direct people away from that when they start getting on that idea. Particularly in the city where your space is limited. Right. And
I also, the other thing, we had a house that we closed on a couple of weeks ago, and I pointed out one thing to the buyer, that when it goes to like 4 p.m., at 4 and after, the shadow covers the deck. It's a perfect location for that house and the deck.
Right.
So some of the other houses on the other side, they probably have
The sun in the afternoon,
so
right?
that's not that.
Well, some people like that sort of thing.
Yeah, but what can you do? You know, you can't turn the house around.
No, those are the
Gotta
types
be
of
there.
people that sit in the bleachers at Wrigley in the, in the heat.
I gotta put
right?
the umbrella. Put the umbrella.
You could do screen rooms, you could do covered porches. There's lots of different things to do to get out of the sun. I mean, the most economical thing to do is, go to a big box store and buy one of those huge umbrellas, right?
Yeah.
They're a bit clunky, right? When you get into a screen room, things start to get a little complex.
Screen room.
If you do like a screen room or any kind of roof that attaches to an existing structure. Because the City of Chicago and the International Residential Code identify that as an addition. It doesn't matter if you put windows in it or not, right? And now the foundation rules for a home apply to that room. So now you're not just dropping a couple of concrete piers to support this thing. You're going to have to build a foundation for it, and there's a $10,000-$15,000
What about suburbs?
bill, right?
Suburbs.
The suburbs, if they're going by the International Residential Code, yeah, same thing, absolutely. You're going to see that over and over again until you get into Wisconsin.
So to build a deck or like a screen porch, 3-season room, they'll have to go to the city first
Absolutely.
to get, or you as a company go to the city,
Here in
or
this-
or me.
Here in the City of Chicago, you would normally engage a licensed architect to do that design for you because the rules in the city are a bit different. When you get into the suburbs, I go and get them myself. I'm not a licensed architect, but I have the ability to do those kinds of calculations to go obtain those permits. The rules in the city are a little bit different. So in the city, I refer them to somebody else. In the suburbs, I do them myself.
But I have to get those permits.
Absolutely. You would have to go to the building department and you would have to demonstrate that your structure meets the structural requirements for a deck.
Would you know that I got the permit? What if I told you I got the permit? Or how does that work?
Well, do you have the placard? Can I see it? You're going to get a
Right.
piece
So
of
you need
paper that
that.
says building permit, right?
So you need that.
I mean, often unless you're not going to be able to pull a permit unless you're a licensed contractor. So the contractor has to sign on to the permit, whether it's in the
Right.
city or the suburbs, right? And you'll have to have a license, either in the city or in whatever township there is.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so that standards and code compliance is the code compliance is very
Because
important.
you're code compliant. 50 pounds per square foot. It's a number that deck builders use over and over and over again. 50 pounds per square foot. 40 pounds of dead load, and I'm sorry, 10 pounds of dead load, 40 pounds of live load. Means 40 pounds per square foot of people actually standing on the deck, or snow or ice, and then 10 pounds is given to the structure per square foot.
I always, when I'm going to talk not about the deck, but an addition to the house. Sometimes when I walk into the house and I walk into the area which was added, I can always feel, almost always, sometimes I don't, but almost always I feel, oh, this was added. Is it normal or no?
I call it mishmash.
Mishmash?
Right, yeah, I call it mishmash. I use that word all the time with customers because I get asked to do things, and I think that feeling comes from two things. One, whoever did the addition didn't put a lot of thought into flow, right? Like, how does this area flow into this area, right? Anybody in real estate understands that, right? You've got, areas that you want to really kind of be able to walk around and it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
If people do room additions, they're like, I'll just stick a room over there just for the sake of having space.
Yeah.
Second, it's a structural thing. Your floors, it's as simple as it sounds to match two floors up perfectly. It's not simple. It's not a simple task. Right?
One settles one way, and the other settles.
They settle, and still you're trying to marry the two together, right? The right way to do that is completely strip the floor all the way down to the subfloor in the existing structure, and then build the subfloors together, and then refloor everything. It's a whole lot easier to do with tile than with wood flooring. A whole lot easier. Yep. But you want to
I didn't know that you have to tear up the floor.
You don't have to.
But that's
you
the
can
proper way
join
to do
it,
it.
but it's going to come out a whole lot nicer when you do that, and then you get away from this feeling of, oh, look, I just stepped into the addition, right? It's more seamless.
Yeah, that's what I've been experiencing, especially on these little homes. It's for some reason I just remember these Schomburg one ranch homes that have the addition in the back, and I kept remembering that house that I walk in and
Right.
going down.
Kind of downwards.
That's an addition, and It feels way different. It's
Right.
like, yeah, it's like
There's
a screen
so
porch.
many 2-flats in the city that did like this 12-foot or 15-foot addition straight out the back, like 2 stories high, and those are rough.
Do you do these the porches, the back porches for the Chicago buildings?
Oh yeah, we've done them.
Back
I
porches,
mean,
yeah.
the rules for those are quite a bit different.
Yeah.
You know, as accidents happened, you know, a decade or two ago, the rules changed, and the part of the rules changing, a lot of the organization had a lot to do with that. Was, you know, the American Wood Council and Virginia Tech. They did all the studies that pieced together what these structures should look like, so people would stop getting hurt, and that happened over the course of the past 15 years. That's why things have changed so much.
Yeah, I had a house. It was a 2-flat in Old Building Park. The back screen porch, you know, the staircase. Mm-hmm. It's
The spiral.
and then it's tilted to like to
Yeah.
the side, and you walk in it. I kind of was scared a little bit to walk.
I'm
So what
scared
do
to
you
walk
gotta
on spirals to begin with.
You got to turn it down and then put a new ones. Or
That's
can you
what-
save
that's
it?
the, you know, when you start looking at that, and I get a lot of customers, oh, can I save this? Can I save that? And you look at it and you just know it. When you have enough experience, tear it down and start over again.
Is it
That's the real
expensive?
way to do it.
Expensive.
Yeah, you know, it depends on the project, right? Sometimes it's simple, sometimes it's pricey, but it's always better to start fresh from the bottom up. You just get a better job done, and you get away from mishmash, right?
Yeah.
There's no more of that.
Yeah. Okay, and then you do inspections too, right? So
I
if
do.
there's somebody has a deck and they're worried about.
Yep,
stuff.
if somebody has a deck, normally I try to stay away from decks that are involved in a sale because there's always like some madness that's involved in it, right? But sometimes I get calls and people are like, you know, I'm not sure if this deck is safe or not. And, you know, you can only see what you're going to see, right? Can I see the foundations? Can I see the beams? Can I see the structure, right? And does it make sense? You know, they almost never meet today's standards because they're built 30, 40, sometimes longer, right? But, you can start seeing if things are pulling away, if things are separating, and, you know, red flags that kind of come up when, you know, a deck is ready to, you know, collapse. And when they collapse, they normally, you know, pull away from a house in a lateral motion like this. And that's when, those are the more serious accidents that happen.
And you obviously do balconies too. Mm-hmm. Balconies, yeah. Some houses might have like a little in the master bedroom, like little.
Yeah,
balcony.
you know, balconies are usually built when you build the home.
Usually, yeah. Here's
Yeah.
a question. Here's why I asked. Recently, I saw a house with a balcony, but these beams underneath the balcony, they didn't seem too good. So what do you do?
Well, okay, there's a number of things. I see that often.
So you gotta
Right.
that beam goes inside the house.
That joist goes into the house, and a lot of the guys have done this for a long time, use what's called a 2/3 rule. You know,
Right.
it's got to extend in 2/3 and 1/3 of that joist is
Outside.
out,
Yeah.
right? And it makes that cantilever. A structural engineer will tell you, oh, that's not true, and they're right too. But you know, given that rule, that exposed portion is going to be subject to the weather, and over the course of years, guess what? It's going to rot or do whatever it's
Right.
going to do. When you see that, you know, you're limited in the choices. Okay, one, you could destroy the ceiling in the house and drive new joists in there, and you'll wreck half the house doing it, and then it'll be just like it was, right? You would rebuild it from the inside out, but you know, it's not very economical. Right? So what some people do is they make them self-supporting. Now you're going to be stuck with some columns on the outside that are going to support this thing. So it's no longer a balcony because a balcony supports itself, right?
Right.
Now it's a deck. It's an elevated deck, and it's being supported by whatever column.
Go get permits.
So you're doing something structural, you're still getting permits, absolutely.
Let's talk about materials. What tell us a little bit about what kind of different materials you use for decks. What are out there? What are the best? Which was, you know?
Well, you know, for framing, almost, you know, the standard has always been pressure-treated southern yellow pine, right? Which you can get just about anywhere. Unfortunately, you don't find it anywhere right now because there's a terrible material shortage happening right now for, you know, reasons we won't even get into. I'm sure everybody knows, right? So, you know, it's really tough to come by. The thing about pressure-treated lumber is it went through a process It's not like pine that you would just pick up, right? It went through a process that makes it more weather resistant, weatherproof. So it's going to last a whole really, really long time, right? So structures normally are built out of that. There are companies out there that make steel joists, make them out of metal, which are a whole lot stronger, and they're great, but you'll pay for that material. When it comes to decking itself, again, southern yellow pine, treated pine is the standard for economical decking. It's wood. People call it that green stuff, right? It's green, and if you go to big box stores, they color it brown now, which we don't buy for our own specific reasons, but the color bleeds off of it. But it's still pressure treated pine. You step up from there, you're in cedar, right? And then you're getting into, I don't like to use the word maintenance free, but this sort of thing, which is a composite deck, right?
Composite?
Yes, a composite is generally referred to. There's lots of different kinds of them, right? But when someone refers to something that's pre-finished, that's either PVC or recycled wood material. Some of the brand names out there are Trex, TimberTech, Fiberon. There's got to be 30 or 40 of them out there.
Which one's the best?
Right? I show everybody TimberTech.
TimberTech?
Yeah, I brought that for you today. You can have that if you like.
Yeah, American brand.
They're American made.
Yeah.
They have one plant I think in Pennsylvania or Ohio, and they have another one down I think in West Virginia. They make both of these products, which is this is a recycled wood product with a PVC cap. This is a PVC product they refer to as AZEK, but they're both made by the same company, TimberTech. The advantage of these products is that once you put them down, you're not staining them, you're not sealing them. This has a 25-year warranty, and it's going to stay like this for the course of its life, right?
25-year warranty.
A 30-year warranty on this, a 50-year warranty on the AZEK PVC.
Wow.
They last a long time. They fade minimally if they're in the hot sun.
Then why would you put real wood?
Economy.
This is more expensive?
Yes, absolutely. You're going to pay, considerably more for a composite deck than you would for a wood deck. The labor to install them is definitely more too. The reason they're grooved like this is we use stainless steel hidden clips to fasten these down.
I thought this is like a laminate.
No, it's not a click lock. It's still going to be gapped, like that when you install them, right? But they go in really nice when they're done. If anybody looks at our website, will see how we frame them. We make them look really, really sharp.
Any other disadvantages other than the cost?
The AZEK product, both of them kind of expand and contract at a rate. So on a really, warm day, they tend to kind of swell up together. But on a cool day, you start to see a few gaps in there. But outside of that, there's very few limitations if the structure is compatible and straight and secure and not sagging. Because one shortcoming of these things is this type of material is that it lacks the rigidity of wood because it's a manufactured product. So any variation in the structure, it's going to start to follow. One cool thing, in the city about these, people who have porches, they make a porch product that's a tongue and groove product. That does fit together, like a click lock, right? That gives you a solid floor, and that'll last a really, really long time. It's tough stuff. But you really need to know how to put it in.
What about we talked about before the interview, the ones that you feel heat?
Yeah, this is going to be a pretty hot deck.
Yeah?
Yeah, they advertise this PVC decking, particularly in this color, that it cools off a whole lot faster. One, it's more reflective, right? I like to tell people who are doing composites, stick with a lighter color because the darker colors are just going to get hot.
Yeah.
And these are so dense that they stay hot, right? If you're in the shade, you don't need to worry about that. But if you're in the sun all day, like something southern facing, then I would consider going with a lighter color.
Lighter color. And then with the wood, so often when they build new houses or new townhomes, whatever, they have these balconies or decks, and there's just a raw wood. You gotta
You're going to maintain that.
Right.
Every year or two, depending on how much weather it sees, you're going to put a sealer or a stain or something on it.
Aren't they supposed to do that, the builders? To do that and then sell? Or as you buy it, you got to do it right away?
You don't have to seal. So a finished deck isn't a sealed product. Sealing is part of maintenance, right?
Okay.
Staining, or you want to change the color of it. If the builder wants to do that and maybe change the color, maybe they're in an association and they want them all to be the same color. Certainly they would stain them all, but that stain over the course of a year or two is going to start to fade, right? And it's going to have to get done again.
So that's something that the owner has to do.
Absolutely.
If you don't do it, then it starts,
Yeah, particularly if you're in an association or like you're in a condo. That's one thing I don't like about condo rules. Almost all of them make the owners responsible for the deck. And because I do we do like lots of repairs in condos where, so we'll get like 30, 40, 50, sometimes 100 of them in one association. And they'll all have to get fixed and the owners are on the hook for it, right?
Or like paint the same colors if
yeah,
it's all brown.
Yeah, exactly. Or they change off to a composite.
You do
right?
railings too?
Absolutely.
Yeah, for the balconies?
Yeah, the railings are tricky, because, the code reads that, railings have to withstand 200 pounds of force, right?
Uh-huh.
But if I got a 36-inch high rail and I put 200 pounds of force at the top, that's 1,200 pounds at the base. Mm-hmm. So, there's people don't understand that. 200 pounds isn't always 200 pounds, and the code doesn't define that very well. Right, so there are some documents out there that a lot of deck builders know about that use hardware to fasten them, and they come out a whole lot better and safer, particularly when they're
And then
elevated.
there's also the height, the height of the railing.
36 inches minimum,
36.
3 feet minimum. Yeah, some people go to 42.
And you also build garages.
Sometimes, yeah. Yeah, they're not, the Danleys of old are gone, right?
Like you can do the garage and the deck, like here in the city.
Uh-huh.
They put a deck on the garage.
And they put a deck on a garage. It used to happen often, right? And it's another place for everyone to sit. The problem is you're putting a deck, so you're building a structure, then you're putting a roof on that, and then you're putting a deck on top of that. Well, what happens when the roof leaks? Now you're destroying the deck to get to the leaky roof, right? So this is something that I always kind of steer people, okay, make sure you want to do this, or put like a 50-year roof on that and make sure it's not leaking before you start building other stuff on it. They have some really cool solutions for that today. There are pedestal piers that you just lay down on the roofs, and they're deck tiles that fit into a grid that you could just pick up and stack up on the side and then lay them back down again. Mm-hmm. So those come in Ipe, which we didn't talk about Ipe, which is like a Brazilian hardwood. Lots of tiles. Ipe. Ipe spelled I-P-E with a little
I thought you said
apostrophe.
eBay.
No, not eBay. No, Ipe. Ipe is it's a species of walnut that's mined in South America. We use that often. It is probably the best thing that's out there for a deck, but it is ultra hard. It is hard walnut. It's very difficult to install, but when you put it in, it is amazing. You don't have to do anything to it. Well, if you don't, you can oil it. If you care to do nothing, you just let it gray out, and it'll turn into this color.
Yeah. Well, one thing I can add to to decks is that when it really adds value to real estate when the homeowner wants to sell. So I see that every day. When there's a deck, usually buyers' eyes are sparkling. It's obviously adding probably at least like 15, 20 grand just to
Absolutely.
when the neighbor's selling for one price, and the appraisers too. The appraiser's gonna appraise the house when the buyer goes to the bank to get the financing. They're probably gonna add. I think last time I thought 20,000 for difference between the properties. So that really is a.
You know what I haven't seen appraisers doing? Giving more value to a composite deck. And that's something that hasn't happened yet, right?
You gotta educate the appraiser when the
appraiser
when
don't
the
know,
seller
yeah.
Right when the
Yeah.
seller meets the appraiser, you gotta tell them, look, this is it's more expensive.
You know what's cool about this product is that these warranties are transferable once. So if you
Once?
sell your home, that you could pass that warranty on to the next owner, but it's not going to go any further than that, right? Even my warranty, I have another warranty on craftsmanship that I offer, and I make mine transferable once, just to kind of marry along with these.
All right, I got a question. So any house can be, can you add an addition to any house? Like a suburban?
No.
No?
No.
What could be, what could stop?
Zoning is the number one reason why you wouldn't add an addition to a house. Okay, I mean, you don't have the space. You
Right.
don't have, you're in a setback, you've used all the allotable land for the addition. Structurally, maybe if you're doing a second floor addition, the foundation's not adequate. There's lots of reasons why you could do
Like
an
an
addition
addition to on the side, on the back, in the back.
If you
there's
have the
room.
space
Yeah.
and you fit into the zoning requirements, there's no reason why you couldn't do it.
No.
That's not some extraordinary way out reason, right? Sure you could. But then again, here we are with the mishmash again. And when you're looking at it from the outside, those roof lines have to marry up. It's not just about walls, and this is where people lose sight of it. I just put a room out here. Well, you just put a room out there, and all of a sudden the roofs aren't lining up, and then that makes the house look terrible, right? You lose all the curb appeal because it looks like a big, ugly block, right? Instead of a nice trim house.
You guys busy right now?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's tremendously busy this year. We can't find enough carpenters to do everything that we want to do. We've been turning customers away. But we've been doing quite a bit. It's been challenging. And with material shortages, it's made it even worse.
Because everybody buying to board up?
Not so much that. People who are, trying to upgrade, they're out. I'm seeing a lot of people who were home during the pandemic who want to do upgrades and they're wanting to spend more time outdoors, but they're not going anywhere. And then they're looking into their backyard saying, oh, I could use this space, but...
Yeah.
but I don't because it's crummy, right? And brick pavers just don't cut it. They're always going to settle. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, I'm experiencing firsthand. All the contractors are super busy right now.
Yeah.
I mean, real estate is too. It's everybody's buying. Everybody's selling. Interest rates are low. It's but yeah.
There's a lot going on.
I wasn't expecting this. When the
No.
March, April things started happening.
I thought we were sunk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought we were sunk. Normally in March, we're working on interiors, right?
Yeah. Oh, you do interiors too.
Yeah, I do interiors too. That's how I keep my guys because I staff carpenters, right? So I keep them busy all year by doing that, and they get out of the devastating cold in January, February. But we put all of our interiors all of a sudden went on hold, and then what we started doing is we had pre-booked all these decks. We started driving them in. And so what's odd right now is when we should be building a mess of decks right now, we're back inside.
What inside you do? Everything?
I do lots of high-end kitchens. I do bathrooms mostly. And we do some basements, but not too often,
You mostly focus on suburbs?
Mostly, yeah.
Northwest?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, absolutely.
So what do people over there more often? What kind of jobs do they order? It's a deck, or is it a screen porch? What is it?
I get a lot of screen rooms. I do a lot of screen rooms.
3-season?
Yeah, 3-season or a 4-season room. I do an awful lot of them. And like I said, they're tricky because you're watching that roof line and how it marries to the house, or if they're independent. They're pricey projects. They're
What's
not
the
cheap.
most expensive one that you've done? Did your company done?
Like a screen room?
I
don't know, maybe $90,000 screen room. Yeah, maybe more. We've done $90,000 decks.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty amazing. You've got, really huge houses on huge land that they have 1,500 square feet of decking. That's bigger than the footprint of my house.
How long you been doing the decks? You've been in
I've been a carpenter my whole life. My
life.
brother and I run this company now, and we have another partner, which was my dad's partner, who was with us for a very long time, who's still with us now, and I've been doing this sort of thing since I was a kid, and I departed from that, and I had a different career in communications and in communications construction, and I came back to this, and I obtained a huge structural background when I was building towers. And now when I look at a deck, I just see tower. You kind of marry those two together after a while. It's interesting.
Yeah.
What kind of life takes you this way in that.
Yeah. Like in the winter you don't do?
I'll do them. The guys, they'll work straight through. If it's devastatingly cold, they'll stop. But they won't take more than, a couple of weeks off. I mean, these guys want to work, right? They don't want to be on unemployment in the winter.
But you can do them in the winter.
The only thing that stops you is when the ground is frozen and you're doing a foundation.
Yeah.
What we like to do is sometimes in like November, December, we'll go drop in a whole bunch of foundations and then circle back and build them. right? So we don't have to, when it starts getting like below 20, 15 degrees, then it's counterproductive. The gloves are on, the gloves are off. I
Right.
can't grab a tool, it's so cold. And then, you might as well just hang it up there for a little bit. And then you just get right back to it. The 30s is good weather for building.
Yeah, this area may be a little bit challenging. The Chicago, sometimes it's.
It is.
It would probably be better in like a Tennessee, Carolinas.
Yeah. Construction's
all day
different
long.
down there. Foundations are different. Here foundations are deep. They're a minimum of 42 inches deep, and that's because of the ice.
Not the first thing I did. Recently, I just learned that Florida has no basements. I didn't know
That's
it.
correct.
I didn't know it.
Yeah.
The
No
water
basements.
level is so high they can't even dig.
No basements.
I didn't know it.
I spent 18 months in Louisiana after Katrina, and I worked for a government contractor back then. So I can't tell you how many trailer parks I built, and nothing goes in the ground in Louisiana. Nothing. You dig a hole, and this like water streams in like a garden hose. It's crazy.
It's interesting. They never talked about that the water level may go so high that there's no Florida.
No Louisiana.
No, it's a wonder. It's
Yeah.
so close. You walk in Miami, you
Yeah.
see that water here. It's really that's where it is.
Yep. Absolutely.
So close to the
Very close. Yeah, it's a different type of construction altogether. Interesting. Challenging here, though.
And then, are you familiar with maybe like building in those climates? Do they use brick or are you familiar? It seems like it's something different.
There
that
is,
they're using.
you typically won't go as deep. The deepness has absolutely nothing to do with the stability of the ground at that depth. It has to do with, and this is a really common problem with a deck, when they heave, you see them all of a sudden, they're not sinking, they're coming up out of the ground. And what's happened is the foundation's not deep enough, and water was able to get underneath the foundation, and it froze. And when it freezes, it expands, and it pops those foundations up like a cork, right? It's a huge problem. It's called heaving, right?
Heaving.
Absolutely. It happens to foundations all over the place. You don't have that problem in southern states because the frost line is not as deep, right? So typically you don't see foundations as deep. That makes construction a lot more economical. Right, but now you're talking about higher winds, like if you're in, hurricane areas, or you're talking about, flooding. That's other challenges in construction that we don't have here. So every region has their thing, right, that either drives cost up or sometimes lessens it.
Yeah. Well, I think our listeners are, now understand that it's very important to hire someone professional who knows what they're doing.
Absolutely.
Not
Hire
do it by
someone that's
yourself.
qualified.
Yeah, qualified. Do it by with permits. Do everything the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it adds value to the real estate. If you plan to sell it in the future. Plus, it's also a good thing for yourself if you're thinking about it. That's
Yeah, particularly if you're doing a composite, make sure that builder has experience with this product because they do not go in like wood.
And composite is less maintenance than
Much
wood.
less maintenance. All you got to do is keep it clean. You'll never have to sand it or seal it.
But a little
Railings or
bit-
deck.
If you were put it percentage-wise, how much more expensive it is versus wood?
A lot of guys
twice?
say double. I
No?
don't like to use double. In my experience, I'd say somewhere between 50 and 80% more
But
expensive.
the structure
The structure's going to be
the same. It's just
Yeah, the
No?
structure's a little bit different. We usually build them with a little bit more oomph when we put one of these guys on. Instead of putting joists out 16 inches spans, we use 12-inch spans. There's a lot of blocking that goes in them to support all the borders that are happening, and we make them ultra straight because they lay down easier and they look a whole lot nicer. Absolutely.
anything else I should have asked you that I didn't ask? Maybe anything that you wanted to mention?
We covered quite a bit. I mean, qualified individuals they're difficult to find. Everyone gets the kind of niche things. When you start seeing like jack of all trades type of guys.
Yeah,
That's where
I can do everything. It's
I can't do everything, and I've done a lot, man.
I can put a roof. I can do a deck. I'll do a driveway. I can do everything.
I could lay on a roof. I've done it when I was a kid, but I'll tell you what, I can't do it as well as some guys do it now.
Yeah.
That's why I use roofers.
Right.
Just what it is, and it really is tools. Like drywall
Tools.
guys. And everybody was a drywall guy in the 80s and the 90s. Now they have specialty tools. And these guys go so much faster and do so much of a better job because of the technology that they have. And if you're a drywaller or you're a deck person or you're a framer or you're a finish carpenter, every one of those trades has a different set of tools, just like an electrician and a plumber would, right? And they have their own expertise.
What's a good phone number to call if someone's interested in
You can call the 800 number, which was right up here.
866?
Yep, it was there. I wish I had it committed to memory, but I don't.
We'll pull it up. We'll pull it up right now. So that's a good
Awesome
number
there.
to call.
866-278-2841. Absolutely. Or visit us at our website. The one thing I can assure you is that, I have to admit, embarrassingly, there are some stock photos probably on our front page. But I could say this honestly, everything in our gallery we built. When you go
And
to
the
our
good
gallery,
thing about OnDeck is that there's a Ukrainian-speaking person
yeah,
there.
Natalia. Thank you, Natalia. Thank you,
So
Natalia.
for somebody who
She's the
doesn't
best.
speak English, that's it's because I coordinated our meeting today with Natalia.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
She is awesome.
Very professional, you know.
I would not be
responds
here
pretty
without
fast.
her.
Yeah.
She's the best. She really is.
Ukrainians are the best.
Yes, they are.
You know? I guess that's it. Well, if people have any more questions, they should feel free to to call the number or go on the website. You also have a Facebook page.
Yep, we do.
Which is,
Drop us a line. Hit our contact.
Find that
send us an
logo.
email.
Find that yellow logo here on
Yep.
on the Facebook. It's the same.
Yep.
And thanks so much, Phil, for coming in today.
Thanks for having me. I
Yeah, I'll
appreciate
have
it.
this little magazine
You can
here
keep
with me.
that.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks so much. We'll talk in 2 weeks. I'll bring another guest and we'll talk about something else about real estate. Thanks so much.
Great. Thank you.
Українське незалежне радіо.